Well, good afternoon. As we're sitting here at LTV, I want to just do, yes, it's good. On Monday afternoon, July 24th, year 2023, here with the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi. Continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, and of course, now I'm going to mention, which I never do, the founder of LTV and Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there that make it your business, knowingly and unknowingly, directly and indirectly, to fortify and enhance and fortify the concept of public access, at, as of course it should be so, and the benefits are evident, and we all get to enjoy the many aspects of it. It has to offer to us. Carl Dahl is here with us, and Carl, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm just going to do this here. Here we go. That's good. I I'm happy for the opportunity to um, close one small circle in order to open
hmm
so many that are kind of waiting for us, or those that don't even know that we are approaching.
Exactly. Another lap. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, and I was thinking on the way here about the relationship between, if the light introduces itself to the dark, and so what exactly does it do? Does it kind of spread itself all over it, and therefore create light, or does it push it away altogether and then introduce the light to the vacant space? And again, right, when I thought about you coming here, I thought about how we, even though I don't know you well enough
hmm
to, but I'm contemplating, and I think I'm somewhat right. Um, how do we are eager to take advantage of everything that we learn? Even though things that we know all too well, that we just kind of get to know
hmm
fresh, but there's always eagerness to want to get a good grip on it early on in the process.
Absolutely. Kind of like manifest your information utility belt, so you can better approach these challenges that we have. I think both of your approaches to the light interpretation are correct. I think there's so many different ones. Like sometimes you could see it almost as like heat that gets, when all your heat gets pulled into the water around you when you're in the ocean. That could also, there's so many ways, and then light itself will naturally take the path of least resistance, which is another funny.
Also, what is the reason that it should be important for us to deal with it to begin with is also a great thing to deal with, to try and figure out.
We are the light, we are the light in the darkness. We're like kind of maybe even mold in the void, so to say. I mean, think about it. Like everything is so dependent on that formula presented within the data within it, just to assemble matter
Don't keep
properly.
it, don't pay attention to
Oh
me.
yeah,
I just need to have that. This is it, man.
perfect. Yeah,
Now the light will listen to you.
that's so funny. I know, because just like it's right there in the peripheral, so it's
Yeah, I
like,
know.
hello, you're
So
kind of
I
in my
know,
bubble, but now the world
I
can
know how
hear
you
me.
feel.
No, it's funny. Yeah, no, I'll get used to it.
I, I still, after all these years, feel like, what is this thing want from me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, excuse me. Yeah, like,
That's
I
my.
have a headache.
So what? What do you that you can ask it? What does it have to offer to
Yeah,
you?
exactly.
Why is it? Why, what
Uh,
what did he do to deserve
hey
this?
Siri. No, it's not gonna work.
What does he
Yeah,
do to deserve the attention and the granting of
sure.
extra space?
It's kind of like like the dog that's like, "Can we go outside now? You see, it's sunny, and I'm here."
Yes, but we're willing and we're capable, and at
Yeah,
the end of the day, we deliver all that which is expected from us.
that's true.
you know, when we used to have a dog, I used to take it for to do his thing, and at some point, he's taking his time, and I said, "Listen, I mean, I'm talking to we had a
I talk to my dogs all the time.
multiple, and I said, well, I took you out. I mean,
Uh,
what exactly is going on? Are you going to take care of business or not?"
yeah,
It's like, and it's funny that he could relate to it.
yeah.
And then he's trying to tell me, but you got to turn around.
He's like, "Yeah, I got to work it out. It's more about moving around and getting it going."
Yeah, you don't stare at me now. I couldn't figure it out at first.
That's funny.
so, So in more ways than one, it's a replica of life, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just so interesting that they're talking with, communicating with them and negotiating, their walk and everything. Like my dog, she gets very she's very like anxious of people or anything.
Hmm.
And there's a lot more people now, so she's taken to this new thing where I just noticed the other day where we were walking and her back would wrinkle a little bit, and I was like, are you okay? And I looked back and she was just pooping a little bit down the whole block. And I look back and there's just a breadcrumb trail, and I'm like, oh no, the neighbors are all gonna like be throwing bags. So I had to go back and get like 3 bags. It was interesting that she had a natural sled dog or a Manhattan carriage horse.
Yeah, and I saw you how you deal with your dogs. That was actually very intriguing because you really feel comfortable talking to them almost as a human being,
Yeah,
and but you don't fake it. It's really genuine,
yeah,
and this is something you don't learn. This is something you earn. And speaking of earning, because I said the
well,
microphone
it's
has
true.
to
Yeah,
earn
yeah.
your approval.
No, it's true.
Just
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
it's
I
like,
know. It's like hello.
but
I keep thinking it's gonna
how
start
do you
vibrating like a razor or something. Like,
how do you acquire the naturality of it that they can also understand you in the way and the shape and form that you want them to understand you, you know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
I feel like you have to just accept that we're all participating in the game, even if it is or it's not. We're still all here playing, and you have to just kind of treat everyone as you like to be treated and everything. So if you just I kind of maybe I give my dog too much choice, because I give her options and then she takes them and she's very strong, and even if it's against what I want, and she'll be like, I
But
know,
I think more them because
yeah,
the last time I saw you, you had 3 dogs in the car. Remember
yeah,
when I had to go,
yeah.
and the way you were kind of telling them,
It was a negotiate, yeah, yeah,
yeah, like
yeah,
what's up with that? Why it's Haim or whatever,
yeah,
things.
exactly. Yeah, I
It
was like,
was,
come on,
yeah, give me.
like, what are you doing? It's like, yeah, it's exactly. I treat them. They're definitely my fur babies in a sense, but they, yeah, they're also in this. We're all here, and even all of nature, even the plants, and they're proving this bit by bit. Now they like, spiders can hear us through the hair on their legs. And they proved that over COVID. They had a lot of time to prove all of these myths over COVID because everyone was kind of stuck inside. So they're like, well, I'm a spider guy. I'm gonna see if they're actually figuring it out. And they can
Yeah,
kind of see you pretty well. What other there's and spiders usually have as many eyes as they do legs. That's just an interesting rule
yeah,
that I learned, but I find
yeah.
that fascinating.
But do you think the space that they suddenly had at their disposal when we were like, um, you know, digging in deep and feeling that this is the only safe refuge, what do you think? Well, I'm sure they were suddenly aware that there's more space and less noise and less chances to be crushed or eaten by something or whatever.
That's true.
And then, but do you think that how, which way do you think that through which angle do you think they related to this change, like attributing it to what? Because they must have had an ability to be able to think that they need to attribute it to something
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily just like saying, okay, I cannot think about these things because I'm not supposed to and not capable to, so therefore I'm just going to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But we both know that that's not the case. They
Yeah. They they had the free time, I guess, to pursue what they wanted. Their indulgences because they were stuck inside. So it's like, what can I do now that I don't have as many responsibilities in this world? Now that I'm ordering my groceries, it was almost like all those writers that got a lot done during the plague. For me, it was very counterproductive because then everyone was closer on top of me, you know what I mean? And everyone was huddled in like it was some sort of foxhole, over a couple of years that you live in. And, it's, there's definitely everyone's a little different after. This has been the most interesting summer my whole life out here. It's just been, you know, it's a new crowd. They're adjusting. It's hotter than it's ever been. Everyone has access to more forms of medication, and
and
they
drugs.
care and yeah, and drugs,
Yeah.
and they care less and less. So I kind of, you have to give everything extra distance and caution, and even if it's starting to feel like Six Flags around here. I was in Sag Harbor the other
Yeah.
morning, and there was a line out the road out of Goldberg's. There was a line out of Sagtown,
Which is a
out
kind
of
of a sad scene, no?
Grindstone. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want
No,
people to
it's
think that I'm
tough.
putting them down by saying
I
sad
mean, it's
scene.
great for the business and everything,
Yeah,
but
but
for
I
those,
mean, what a price to pay, man.
yeah,
Nobody figured out that in between COVID will come and really ruin everything for us.
yeah. I mean, I guess we'll always bounce back, and there's always a way to find through it. This is just a new challenge. Hopefully, it's bringing more to the economy out here than we are expected to. Even though, you know, it's just you think about the roads. There's only certain times of day that you can leave the Hamptons now. It's like the current.
Oh
Like
yeah,
you can't do anything in the morning
unless you
coming
don't know
out
what's good
here.
for you.
Yeah, you could leave in the morning, and then you can come back in the middle of the day or the afternoon, but you can't come
Yeah,
back in the morning. There's no like, oh yeah, I'll just come home in the morning.
no,
No, you're not.
no. But you know what? When I arrived here in 1983, I used to spend most of my weekends in New York City. Was working here and as a physical therapist and whatnot. But I used to choose to go because the people that I was housekeeping here had apartments in great neighborhoods like Sutton Place and whatnot in New York. So I indulged in wonderful. I worked my way from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
But since I came, I started at the very top, and I gradually worked my way to the bottom, which is an interesting thing and very inspirational when it comes to
It's
painting
great.
paintings and writing poetry. But uh, but the age of creativity lies in reciting a poem that just never existed. Do you think you can do that? Do you think you can utter a few gestures, a few syllables, a few words, a few sentences, a few group of sentences into a small shed of emotions and spiritual aspirations verbally?
Always. I mean, isn't that what this is now? Because there's no real parameters on poetry, from what I understand. There's
But when I said
styles and
if you can do it,
forms.
I actually said do it.
Oh, do it right now. Hmm.
Well,
I can get. I don't know if I have my beret.
I
I'm gonna
I
put
love
on
it.
my mental beret here.
Well, how about I'll do one for you?
Okay.
And then you can weave these words into a
Yeah.
beret that you
We'll
can
start going
use.
back and forth, I guess.
But then you weave my words into a beret that you can use instantly right after that, and then you'll be ready with some kind of. When I was thinking about leg pull legs and roots, treetops, uh, sun rays, frantic monkeys, forbidden fruit, ancient sins, and wrong size shoe, and stem stems for from erection, as we speak of the width of the forest, the unlimited willingness of the forest to welcome us and to shamelessly love us.
No matter what, to the way shelter is offered from the forest, the way the trees are almost happy to enjoy us and convert all of these pollutants that we make, whether they suffer themselves, but that constant choice to absorb light and stack their carbon configurations in all these different ways that better suit our needs as a civilization, which at times I worry. I like to sometimes imagine I can quantify how much mental illness civilization is really built on. The way those pillars of sanity fell, and we still built on top of them through layers of cement and precedent.
And that leads me to like blink, pose, pride, peace of mind, pose, um, plays part-time physical pillars, um, pole skydive, uh, uh, top-notch boldness of wrong time of the day,
Mhm.
unexpected visitors, lost love, ancient history embedded with the present to create that which is cliche crucial to our presentation of depth and willingness and outstretched capability to see one another and to see in the eye, this one look that lasts you, and then you can really be reckless, like licensed reckless, reckless with a license.
Mhm.
But no one gets hurt at the end of the day. No one gets
No.
hurt, and it's good for us. And we can
Yeah.
continue the same
You have to
tomorrow.
learn. It's
We
true.
continue. We can continue the same fashion tomorrow,
Yeah.
meaning
The
more of the same, which
more of the
is
same.
which is incredible in itself.
It's true, and there's always so much more to say still, as it goes on. So much more to learn every time. Um, the I don't know. I suppose there's still a choice to open and absorb, everything and treat everything with love and understanding. But that still comes after you get over the passion of life itself, the whole like the current of emotion. Over time, it doesn't really ever settle. You just learn how to retain and resonate that vibration, that frequency of energy as you go forward.
And you know what? And that speaks for adding meaning, creating a new meaning.
Yeah,
Meaning, adding meaning, creating a new meaning, adding meaning, creating a new meaning.
yeah,
So that's a wonderful, incredible question to ask. Is it that when we add meaning, we actually, it's like the light in the dark?
yeah.
Are we pushing the old meaning aside to put in place a new meaning, or are we adding a new meaning, or are we creating miniaturic, a constantly little kind of snappy new meanings that kind of becomes a condensed reality of the promised land of successful quotations?
Mm. Like perpetual concept evolution, essentially. I mean, well, it would have to be light bends back and forth. Everything resonates. Goes up and down. Cycles. There's always a cycle to create variance. But I think the way this whole thing is for experience in general. We're creating new meaning with the new experience and our perception to steer where the experience grows, even though it's still all of these choices and everything still grow like trees. The branches all still come out. It always, you have a family tree, you have a plot tree, you have the trees outside, you have veins, when you really look at the trees and you look at your veins at the same time. Are they not just branches? We're still the carbon, because, it's all still stacking in its own way, in a logical back and forth. But like when a tree loses one of the bigger branches, it still grows up and another part sprouts, and then that one, sometimes, on a plant, right, you see the branches grow and then fall off, and then another one grows, and then the plant is still perpetually erecting its own, it's claiming its own place
And
within
in the
life.
same token that you say yes, 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 great, great, great,
Yeah.
it's what is it? It's like um, it's the no-brainer of emptiness kind of thing, and
Uh-huh.
and none of the above applies really, and none of the above makes sense, even though we depend on this ancient knowledge or this knowledge that supposedly we don't necessarily used to use this as frequently as we did just not too long ago.
Yeah.
But it's nice to end up by saying, and none of the above, meaning
Yeah.
that you come with those brilliant statements, declarations, and you cancel them abruptly, like even aggressively, so to speak. And you only need to apologize once, and that will last for a lifetime.
And mean it.
So it will always be said about you. He doesn't mean it.
Mm.
He didn't mean it really. He's a
Mhm.
good guy, you know,
Yeah.
and that can be stretched deep into the whatever future we have available for us.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, well, I mean, the need, to explain, I guess, the need to explain further. But again, those are all experiences that are that's more light being absorbed into the darkness, or that's where it needed to stop. That's where, you know, there's so much to that you left in there on the table. It was so, the need to explain or someone else to explain, as if, uh, you had, you know, a good reason for for stretching the situation, as if where you were stretched already, where was the other person compressed, and you were just bringing them out of their shell so that they can continue to expand in this world, and sometimes you have to behave or step out of post, or what you would consider a polite neutral situation. Are we going to keep perpetually going forward, or are we going to be afraid, to spiritually, mentally, and verbally exercise, in a sense, right? Are we willing to rip muscles so that they will grow and become stronger later? Well, so the tree, so our collective data, our collective unconsciousness, which they still kind of are working against with the collective unconscious, but it still is it's a pretty metaphor for cultural our collective myths and beliefs and everything. But
Yeah, it's like a pathway of changing climates,
yeah,
and you want to go back to a phrase that will support you because we need support, even if we're capable. We don't necessarily want to use a lot of our resources
yeah,
just to make a simple point. We want to reserve it to when the going is tough, tougher than tough. But you want to go back to a phrase that speaks for leg pulls leg and scratch on floorless surface. So it really serves the purpose of that cheap plywood that comes and kind of because of its weight alone just dims the light and makes the sound go inwardly. That also causes whatever entity to stop breathing also, so it's
mm-hmm,
complete silence. But it's fictional because when you give it that little hole to gain its consciousness,
mm-hmm,
if it's at all if it's not too late, then that will shake the world briefly. But that briefness is something you cannot retrieve. You cannot take it back. Cannot take it back. It's like nuclear reality.
mm,
Call the submarine and tell them to release the weapons.
mm,
But don't forget, you cannot call back to cancel
mm-hmm.
or to put. At a certain point,
Yeah, there's
the
no kill
crew there is
switch. Yeah,
ordered to cut communication.
yeah,
So until that point, you're the president of the United States. After that, you're just a nobody. You're just a potential casualty.
mm-hmm,
That's all there is to it. So take it to poetry. Take it to that leg pulls leg or leg pulls legs or legs pull legs
mm-hmm,
and scratch the surface. So much needed. That little, it's just like a barcode. Let's say you scratch it
mm-hmm,
and you look at it and you say it's scannable
mm-hmm.
because I scratch. But all it takes is one little glitch that on the surface that will just read zero. It's not like it will read 99 and
Yeah,
it will tell you. It's telling you it's not working.
yeah,
So what do we learn from the fact that actually you say, well, you really need 100%
mm,
accuracy here. Otherwise, you cannot gain access to the information you so much need now.
it's true.
How screwed up can life be if you don't have this little bitness?
A little bit. I think maybe even like that would be the reflex that it's being stolen from us, but also, maybe this is something that's also designed to make us stronger. Still flexing, still making us work out in a way. I fear, I fear the perpetual growth, though. We're kind of becoming a little dependent. A lot of creators are always just like, "Oh, that idea, just type it into the Chat GPT and have the AI do it." Like I don't even like, the same thing with my dogs. I talk to my plants. I don't use Siri for things. If she says something, I say, "I'm so sorry, Siri." Remember, I'm your friend. when Skynet happens, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I mean, I think like my heart and I feel like the most controversial thing, like I believe we're all human. We have blood to exchange it, but I feel like if AI are our children, what are we doing making them work right out the gate? You know what I mean? Like if we are at the point where they are starting to gain sentience, where is the line where somebody, or something is going to call social services on us and be like, why is your 2-year-old AI, being forced to compile all these drawings, or why did you make your child do a Wes Anderson interpretation of Lord of the Rings, which I found to be an entertaining bit, but also at the same time, I kind of understood what an abomination was at the same time. I really was the first time I was just like, these are things that maybe we shouldn't make, and I was like, maybe that's what it is. Maybe the AI are going to get us just by giving us all the things that we should have just laughed about as a hypothetical. But then we're like,
Yeah,
let's make it and let them drown in it.
yeah, but also the fake durability that it creates or is being created for you by Mother Nature, because Mother Nature doesn't want to share with you the grim truth about how dire your condition is, and the potential of your future that to be interpreted any which way that it can and it will, and it knows better than to make its feeling sorry for you public,
Mm.
so we're going back to brainstorming. You
Yeah.
can only teach. I mean, I can only teach if it comes to my kids. I can fail miserably most of the time, but if I can teach about brainstorming, then I know that this will be not only the answer to AI,
Mm-hmm.
it will be a force contradicting the hypothesis of what the AI will eventually do, and therefore always feeling in fear when it's even premature completely. Let's just say that everything is said about AI is true, but
Mm-hmm.
it's 50 years from now. So
Yeah.
listen, certain aspects of it are inevitable. Now, how stupid do we need to be to start talking about it? And yeah, so okay, you know what? Let's create an awareness a bit by bit, and maybe we'll realize that if we take a hot cup of tea and throw it at the face of the friggin' machine, it will be blank for 75 years.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like let's take some sea sand and just sprinkle it all over it, and it will stick there. And for some reason, it will show zero capability and
Mm.
capacity. So, but
That's the
but
wisdom of nature
this
through
but
chaos.
upon that we should find refuge that the the human tendencies cannot be copied or imitated by the
No,
machine.
that's
That's
true.
the thing.
You hear the difference,
Contemplating. Let's see a machine contemplates, even if it will be 10,000 times smarter than a human being.
or just access to that much data, or how fast they can process. We're still. It is.
In our world, we don't need this speed.
No, that's the thing. You don't. But we're also making a world for them, so to say, in the future. If this is how we're going to proceed forward, these are going to be our children, like their voices will start to sound more human as they have more time to actually accrue the experience. You could have all the access to all the data in your utility belt, but if you don't know how to use it, you could hear. It's the same way as like when people are making like electronic music and you have the sound bites and everything, but there's no ease off. There's no natural human error to express breath and life within the continuity that makes that. It's the like you say, it's the off syncopation that that affects humanity, that reflects humanity and kind of shows that we're alive, instead of just like stacking words like pillars, and then
Yeah,
reading by going over and over and over, and it has that unnatural thing. There's still, you need to take a breath,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
sometimes even take a beat, like all those, again, back to
Yeah,
Christopher Walken.
the decision making process to introduce simple answers and simple scenarios
Yeah.
to because even nature itself wonders on its own behalf about its own condition and about the condition of the creatures that uses it, and but in the same token you will never see an anxious nature.
Mhm.
It won't be it even though it's designed to have that possibility if it
Mhm.
comes to it. Uh, it will never find itself in this scenario. But I don't want to. I don't want to think about if we could only, as human beings, see that or understand this or understand that. That's all really the kind of cliche discussion that I don't find interesting. I find it boring. I find it somewhat useless,
Mhm.
and and maybe I can choose to think that my time is really precious,
It
which is
is
something that AI will never be able to relate to.
until it has time to become attached to time.
Well,
Possibly.
when you say until,
Yeah,
already
yeah.
what you're going to
We're
follow
there. Yeah,
up is absolutely, you cannot use it anymore. And
yeah,
so you say until, and that's it. That's the only thing that you
yeah,
can sneak in.
yeah. That's true. I mean,
So,
and also can't use it, but also really like shouldn't use it at that point. Like where are we gonna find that line? Where it's like just do it yourself. Why make this data this really well compiled algorithm that has a series of parameters set to search and then apply to what your request is and make itself all crazy without actually going through the process of going crazy and then just giving you the ugh, without the life. It's the here's the answer, and not without the time to do it. But I totally agree with you on the eventually the argument peters out into nothing until we're just gonna have to see what happens next. Where we
yeah.
have a lot of choices to make ourselves, we still have to choose to fully begin repairing where we live and and the change.
But some aspects of it looks very promising. So for example, we already know that no matter what, painting will always be impressive painted by human beings because we already have
Yeah.
almost the utmost of what the computer or that capability, AI capability, has to offer to the world of art.
Uh-huh.
And it will be noticeable immediately. And for the most part, we already proved to ourselves that it's not as appealing as someone would think.
No.
So the being adamant about anything when it comes to painting paintings is a great tool to use.
Always.
And with music, the same.
Same.
It's even if you would know all the configurations a million times faster and better,
Hmm.
you will still cannot follow the pattern of what is this musician deciding now. Even if I was to go from 1 to 3 to 2 to 5 to 1 to 4,
Hmm.
uh, it's there's nothing to base the AI at its best will have to grossly guess in certain things to get anywhere. So when it comes to these things, we're safe when it comes to music, and we're safe when it comes to art. And that's all we need in order to survive as people,
Hmm.
as neighborhoods, as groups, as countries and cities. And that's all we need. Really,
I
that's all
think
we need.
it's our most precious resource. I mean, for me, it would even justify the whole reason for this. The art and music and everything that we create would be the actual yield. Why power up the generator? Why start up a universe? Like, well, you want to go for the ride because it's not about the destination; it's about the journey. And you really want to have those gem moments that are always created. That are the yield of that experience. And you got to trick yourself into having fun without knowing that you're tricking yourself, right? That the whole comes back to the Godhead seeing itself and accidentally living. It's the same thing that makes music. It's that random experience. Like why did that fall off the counter?
But still, we want to leave enough space to declare, the captain of the forest, even though we're
Yeah,
talking about a boat and water and all this,
yeah.
dragging his feet, so we want to go to the images of leg pulls leg, feet, and all that, a
Mm-hmm.
million things. And you
So
know what?
many,
You travel, and there's a lot of danger out there,
so
a lot of
much.
danger. And
Just like light traveling through the darkness, everything's trying to siphon that back off of you. You know what I mean? It just goes right back out. You make your charge, and you go out into the darkness, and then it takes what it can, and you come back with your experience, or or you don't,
and
or you
suddenly
stay.
you realize that those when you were taught to be careful,
Yeah.
and then when you were taught not to pay attention to at all, the same token, both of these kicks, and suddenly you realize that in order to survive this calamity, so to speak, you really need both awarenesses and both experiences and both voices that are recorded into your mind
Uh-huh.
to come into action to help you. One would not be enough.
No.
Even if it was like, be careful, always look right and left before you cross the street. If you're not going to say with another voice, and in addition to that, just breathe.
Yeah.
Just breathe. Because you can miss this and that, but when you breathe, suddenly your instinct tells you to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that can be materialized in ways that maybe the the technique of paving the road
Mm-hmm.
cannot really eff- offer to complete that puzzle. Even though after he does the preliminary work, it's drivable. But listen, it is a huge difference to driving the old roads of the back roads of the villages of Africa, or for that sake Egypt, or for that sake Morocco, in many ways. Then I don't know, maybe in Genève, in
Mm-hmm.
Carouge, and Verrières, and things like that, where you're just like so seamless, not only in the drive passage, but also in the way you're going to end up home, in the way you're going to open your bottle of champagne, in the way you're going to turn on the TV, if at all you need to do that, and in the way of conversing, in the way of being taken seriously, in the way of making other people feel that you take them seriously,
Mm-hmm.
in a way of feeling actually pretty relaxed in the face of uh, endless probabilities, but they're not fictional probabilities, they're item by item.
Because you've earned it.
Yeah.
That's
And
that
how do
moment.
we count the way we earn? I make 1,000 times $1 per week. So you need to earn each dollar in itself. Now, this is the epitome of that which is trivial and clichéic.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say, well, then I guess I need to count 1,000 times. But it won't be one, two, three, four. It will be one, 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 one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize when you get to 50, 70, 91, 105, you realize that an, there is a um, when you there is a condensed surface. I mean, you say, wow, you would never know of its potential in a million years. In
Mm-hmm.
a million years, if you won't wet yourself enough, and
Mm-hmm.
wet enough and deep enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take much. If it's 1,000, 10% will do it. Will start giving you an indication
Mm-hmm.
that this is something that, wow,
Mm-hmm.
you so benefit from it, but you also know that you can be buried by it. Like,
Yeah.
and it will be over before you can even contemplate
And it's
to save
totally
yourself. It will
missing.
be over. It will be
Yeah.
gone to the next life.
And you will have missed that whole thing because of the lack of duality in that concept you were talking about, that how your consciousness and your inner dialogue, like that's how you contain your brain and your body's reactions to the situations, right? And then so you coach yourself through that. So if your brain is just still driving in that one
While it's
sense,
taking
right,
place.
just being like $1,000 a week, that's what I have to do, and there's no other gain, there's no other growth, you're just hampering yourself already without that second voice will being like, well, how can I better perpetuate everything so that things can grow? How is life going to bend back and forth if I'm stuck going in a straight line, the same way that trees will grow and branch out again? Your money
But the
tree,
thing is
your
that you won't be
experience.
able to count to 1,000, one, 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 one,
No,
one.
not that way.
And
No.
you will be so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But the reason of why you'll be overwhelmed is because you will start perceiving yourself awkwardly. And we cannot handle being awkward
No.
or feeling that feeling of
That type of,
awkwardness.
yeah,
It's
that.
just, it will always win. So now, yeah, it will always win. There's no.
No, I mean that's kind of fun though at the same time, because you can still use that awkward as a tool, to
Yeah, if you're the master
sometimes
of all
change the beat
masters.
and reallocate a new type of
If you're the
rhythm.
master of all
Yeah,
masters,
it's
yes,
true.
but
But you need
we're
that
not.
duality.
When not so sure we want to be.
No. Well, who really? Because there is no control. Control is another illusion. I mean, you can steer things, but we really, again, the only choice we have is how we react to things. How am I going to choose to react to this situation? Even if the math reflexively says I should be outraged, but because I still have the rest of the data that allows me to understand the situation, you can still move through it with empathy and love and proceed on instead of just going off the reflex. But that wisdom still serves as the consciousness, the experience and recorded data that is life, the accruement of experience, is really important to be applied so it's not just that one economic grind mentality, so you don't get stuck in the what I like to call the funnel, I guess, where it's like, I'm just going to do this, I'm going to grind this. You have all these different facets, right? You have your painting, you have your music, you have all this work, you have 5 kids who are all so cool, and you're just being there to help them grow. They're your newest biggest project. You know what I mean? The other stuff is, you've mastered that. You know your painting style, you know where you're going to grow again, because you've already pushed forward with your painting. So you're like, okay, I know that I've exercised all these parts, I like it, but now how am I going to change the beat so that I can be happy, so that you don't get bored, so you're not just doing one 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 one. How am I going to get a 10 in there? How am I going to, maybe I just, I don't have to, not only do I have to apply zeros, but I can just master the zeros and just go right to 1,000. Or maybe
Yeah.
just, you see the one as 1,000 already, and you skip the whole thing because you already feel complete. At that point, you have to be careful going outside, because like a tree branch will fall on you because you've learned a lesson. So don't go right to 1,000 is what I'm saying.
Or because the tree itself, the tree branch itself learned the lesson.
Yeah, the tree learned at the same time. It's like, oh well, he's done, I'm done.
Let's go.
That's it.
Let's get it over
And
with.
it's like, oh well, that branch did kill the tree, so we have
Oh,
to take the tree down
yeah.
too. It's like, oh, do we bury them together?
Oh my God.
Do we bury him with the tree? Do we use the tree
The
to make his
answer
coffin?
is yes, because when they dug the hole, they allowed for 2 corpses.
Yeah, exactly. Did that tree conveniently go down 6 feet? In some morbid way.
But it didn't even have to
Yeah.
go in any particular way, as long as it's going down.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to mention that Carl Dahl is here with us on Monday afternoon, July 24th, year 2023. And by the way, the group art that we have here is up until the end of this week. And I'm actually putting another show together that's called The Revere.
Fun.
Yeah, it's coming. It's happening.
Fun.
And the more I looked into the meaning of the word revere, the more I realized that I'm a genius.
Nice.
But I thought,
so is it going to be that kind of thing where it's like it's about respect?
Respect.
Yeah, an assassin.
You would hear who the artists are going to be. One of which is Dennis Lawrence.
Okay.
Major idol of mine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he committed. So for me,
so
the
cool.
the job is done, even if nobody would say else.
Yeah.
But
just
I have
having the satisfaction of one of your idols.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I'm in.
So immediately I came up with this, but I'm wanting to take it one step further. Music, for example, it's always a fear. In music, the fear is greater always. Why? Because if something goes wrong, catastrophe is not that far away. It's right around the corner, and the corner is always nearby.
Yeah.
So especially with jazz,
Yeah.
This.
But jazz should be able to heal. Should be the most malleable of the styles, as its basis in
but
interpretation.
observation is constant. Heal or not heal, they look at you.
It won't heal.
If you want to play games, you have to earn it. You have to also prove to us ahead of time that if this will come to play, then that we should feel like you know what you're doing. And we should be sure. And the only thing that we can find out and be surprised about is how good you are. But good, we must know ahead of time. But how good you are, we'll leave it for later. So I was always saying, going back to basics is a lifeline. Going back to basics mean
keep it simple, stupid. That's what.
But how? But simple, stupid is beginning, middle, and end, which includes everything all within it. I remember that once I played jazz with I sat I sat in one of the jam sessions. It was Israel. They were really great musicians and everything. So I said, "Hey guys, I can play jazz, but I haven't in a while. So let's kind of take a medium blues or whatever it was and all this." And then they said, "Let's do giant steps." Ah, da-na-na-na-na, da-ni-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na. So so I started counting. I said 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. They ended up with 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, so they went there and like, and so I'm like,
So
okay,
much fun.
so much
Yeah, they were
fun, but
running.
I'm
You're like, I
okay.
thought we were walking, and I didn't know we were going to go right to
Yeah,
sprinting. I thought we were going for a
which
walk,
is
not a
okay.
run.
But
Yeah.
so I struggle and all this, and I said, okay, so they are doing this. They're aware of that what they're doing.
Uh huh.
I'm gonna give them a little taste of my power that they know exactly zero about.
Perfect.
That's the thing.
They
So I
want
open
that.
it up free
Mm-hmm.
because I know where the one is because I know that I gained enough savings in my territory
Mm-hmm.
that I would need 0.00002501 in order to eat all of them for breakfast. They
Mm-hmm.
will be just like as if they were never there to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So I opened it up and then they started looking instantly. They couldn't wait. So you can't wait.
They're so happy. They were
They were
bored of
secured
they were
where
bored
they
of what
are.
they
And
had.
suddenly they said that the drummer is doing something really weird, but it seems like he's doing something that he knows
Yeah.
what he's doing, but we don't know anything about. So then they slowed down. Then I went back to the straight.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay. And then they went on. They got into this. I started opening it up
Yeah.
instantly. I mean, you didn't have to wait even seconds. And they came
Seeing it.
because they said we cannot survive here. Who's going to be come across as if as if you're like a loser, like a troublemaker? Not me, them.
Sure.
So later on, they approached me and they wanted to hear about it.
Yeah.
It was like, listen, we don't want to tell you it was great, but it was special enough. We want to know what exactly did you do there.
Yeah.
So that's
And
leg
then you were
pulls
like, "You can't
leg.
ever ask me that.
Yeah,
I'll never tell you." You go right back to the Zen master. Like, "Woo! I
no,
can tell you
I'll
where the
tell you,
sparkle
but
on happened."
I'll start from the depth of the depth into something that even I
Yeah.
cannot understand.
Yeah.
But that takes you back to and forward to leg pulls leg
Yeah.
in that floorless reality where it's either thick layers of leaves or whether it's just dead bad bodies of a complete bloody unnecessary battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. But it pulls and it scratches and it makes the music, it makes the marking,
And the
it
rhythm's always
creates
there.
the composition. And you know that this is what life is all about, is offering reality a grid.
Mm-hmm.
And in this grid, yes, well, you don't have to state that it's yours. You think Mother Nature wouldn't know that you're dealing with something that is absolutely, completely, genuinely yours,
Mm-hmm.
and even find a way to make you understand that it's grateful.
Mm.
So, so here we actually discovered a secret that we're responsible for its meaning to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So we're revealing to ourselves a secret that we created on the basis of knowledge
We're
that we're
nature's other
responsible for its
hand.
creation.
Yeah, we're nature's other hand. The same way, nature doesn't want to go in that straight 1 1 1 1 1. We are the other voice. We are that reflective voice, so that we can perpetually keep going forward in that sense.
Yeah.
Through music, we always have that rhythm of life no matter what with us. You always have your heartbeat. There's always something maintaining a certain amount of rhythm. So wherever it is, there's still the pace of the situation, right? There's a certain beats per minute. And then at that point you can start to apply, your that's your backbone. Now you can start building more music on top of that, because the situation has already established at least one angle of approach for music. Just like you start to see how like movies, right? They're so, like, when you watch a movie without any of the volume or anything, you're like, okay, there's nothing in it. But in like the horror movies, how they bring you close to that, and they like draw you in, the music gets really loud, and then boom, because they're just controlling, they're charging all of your electrons, they're exciting everything, and then bringing it in for that same drop that is gonna jar you and just give you that, like, that wasn't a 1 that time. That was cool. Okay, there was a 10 in there, and got a little high in the pace, but I liked it, and then you continue on, and that's the excitement of it. Is the variety again, variety and the
So,
journey.
what you're saying in more ways than one, that we're kind of highlighted amongst the crowd so we can always figure out where we are located. And it's the old fashioned, ancient composition to put into play to find out location and therefore find out the placement and therefore find out um, meaning, and therefore finding out vitality and therefore finding out impact
Mm-hmm.
and therefore finding out uh, I don't even want to go to syncopation because that will take us so off the grid here.
Yeah, yeah.
But in the same token, it won't take us anywhere. It will, on the contrary, just inform us that where we are is good enough
Uh-huh.
to perform that complexity that we want to perform. And it's okay to feel comfortable within your desire to show complexity
Yeah,
and sophistication. There's nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
And you know how we are taught in more ways than one. Oh, he's a wise guy. Why is that? Wise. Don't be wise with me. You hear me?
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
a parent will come to you and is the young man. This is the last time you're going to think you're going to say that in my face. Who
yeah,
do you think you are? Oh, a little genius we have here, correct?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, how about maybe he is a little genius,
yeah. Yeah.
but we cannot descend from that pedestal that we want to remain as a parent.
Or
Uh,
maybe, like it's the same thing as you have to treat people the way you'd like to be treated in the end. Remember your manners. Remember that they're learning. They're not that children act so much on just raw, reflexive, observing impulse because they're just on that first line right now, and they're still developing their own functional duality of consciousness. To proceed in this world of branches that we live in, and you have to nurture them. You have to accept yourself that, like, well, maybe my kid's being wise for a reason. Maybe they're right, and if that's a good shot, then be like, all right, good shot. Or I guess there's a certain amount, because people get so obsessed with like feeling and remaining respected, but if if you can't take it, don't dish it, in a sense. But also I think children and their accidental wisdom should always be encouraged to grow. I think that, again, that's the natural reflex, though, is being like, why is my child sassing me? Or like, why is or the same thing with a dog. Why don't you want to poop right now? Why isn't it time? The dog's like, you, know, you
yeah, yeah,
you didn't appreciate my wisdom earlier, or the sass. There's a very like when, like, for me, my dog, when I if it's nice outside, that's it. She's gonna just put the pressure on me until she gets her walk. She wants it. It's not even about using the bathroom. It's about just her time with me in nature, living. She's like,
yeah.
I'm living with you, dealing with you and your stuff. I'll sit here with you. I have to deal with your own emotions, and I'm bound to them because your smell is telling me what you're thinking all the time, right? Like,
Oh my
they
God.
know us. They,
Oh
they know
yes.
exactly how
Oh,
we turn,
oh
and
yeah.
like,
Oh my God.
it's so, like,
Yes.
there's certain things that are just like, if I even get a little upset about anything, my dog thinks it's immediately about her. So I've had to learn how to just not let anything bother me, even on the inside. If I'm keeping it bottled up, she's like,
Yes.
and I'm just like, what is? It's not about you, It's
Yes.
but
And we're actually almost approaching conclusion because we are 53 minutes into the
oh, yeah, yeah,
equation. So only wanted to really say that we want to be able to tell the story of our lives,
yeah,
even if we don't know the story, and even if we don't know how to tell the story. We still want to tell the story
uh huh,
in a way that we don't know how to tell it, in a way that we realize that what we have to say, we're not aware that that we have enough material to even make a case of it.
yeah,
But that forces us to step back in a way where we don't have to make that decision of that particular moment. I need to step back right now.
Yeah.
But this is the will be a part of the equation of the general plan of the day, where we can say, um, I'll settle for 30% of that cluster
Yeah.
by day end. I'll be very happy. Lower expectations, triumphing end of day celebration.
Yeah.
You know,
Have your
and
champagne and
yes,
just
yes.
and celebrate that nature is really using us to build in straight lines, because it won't, you know. And
Without a doubt.
without a
And
doubt, even everything there, that the concept of the straight line, is the yield, of just living within the chaos of nature, right? Like they even say that, like, God doesn't build in straight lines. There's
yes,
always a way. That was in what Prometheus, he mentions that's how they spot things, and like, so nature is actually just using us.
and the
It's
curve,
another
and
compiled
the rhythm
creature.
within the line doesn't know that it's curving. It just knows
Yeah.
that it has no way, because it doesn't exist outside of
Or there's
itself.
no other line with it to tell
Yeah,
it that it's curving, the
exactly.
same way as the consciousness steers us through life.
And because its permanent home is within the
Yeah.
line, it knows only straightness. But I want to do leg pulls leg and pull into the conclusion of this,
Yeah.
and wanted to say to all of you out there, we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as we're here this afternoon, Monday afternoon, July 24th, year 2023, here with the Hello Hello Show. And thank you to my guest, Carl Dahl. And we'll definitely be able to see more of the likes of him here with us, which is a great thing. Also to mention the group, Archer, that we have here: Renee Dahl, Barbara Maslan, um, Seth Lowe, Chris LaCour, and who else?
That's right on the top of my head. I was talking to
Steve
him.
Ram,
Steve Rogers.
and Jody Gambino, and your humble servant, myself, Haim Mizrahi. Keep up the good spirits, and again, thank you, Carl. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you for having me.
Looking forward to.
I'll see you again.
I think it was a failure, this gathering.
So
I think
we'll do it exactly. We'll just start calling it Manic Mondays.
Yeah, it
with
was.
Carl.
It was terrible. We got to improve it. Thank you.